everybody, it's Amanda. I am not gonna lie to you, today is the first day I am wearing my hearing aids, and I don't know if you can kind of see, but they're the ones that go over your ears, and it's weird. It's been a really weird experience. I also forgot to put my earrings back on, so I feel kind of naked, but these were my earrings today. I don't know if you can see it well enough, but they're like little suns. So I didn't put them back on, but the thought is there. So imagine me with my earrings in. I am parked. I made a list of things that we needed to talk about. I have a mobile home park update that almost seems kind of unbelievable. I mean, I don't agree with some of this stuff, and I don't know if you guys will either. So let's get into all the things. So first of all, let's talk about the backstory of the mobile home park. How did I stumble upon this really cheap mobile home, and really kind of what it cost me and all of the little details, okay? Some of you guys may know this already because you have been with me for many of years. I've been on YouTube for 3 years now talking about my low income life as a 36-year-old in the state of Oregon. Okay, so backstory, let's rewind it. It was 2 years ago that my husband and I were living in an apartment. A lot of you guys knew that I was budgeting, and I was only a budgeting channel at the time, talking about my low income finances on all the things. We were struggling at the beginning of the whole YouTube journey to try to save money. And I realized that on a low income, I was going to really never be able to buy a home. Even though for around 10 years at that time, I had the idea that I needed to buy a home by watching people in my family who were aging into retirement that didn't have anything to rely on housing wise. So a couple years ago, my husband and I were working at a pizza place. I was the general manager, he was the driver. I essentially made him work with me because I didn't have any employees really. It was rough. The pizza place was rough. Essentially, I started with one employee, which was crazy. But we had started to do a lot of things in life to change our income and our status of being low income. So he was working full time, saving all of his tips. Any cash tips he got, he would come home, put it into a Scooby-Doo cup on a shelf, and he just had tons of 1s and 5s, and I'm like, dude, you're looking like a stripper. You got some stripper tips going on. But we would laugh about it because he would pull it out and it'd be like a wad of 5s and 1s. I was also doing all of my gig working during the morning time before we would go and open the pizza place, and I was saving like a bananimal. Man, I was just like 10 bucks here, 20 bucks there, and I was doing savings challenges with the budgeting community, the cash stuffing community with all the envelopes and things, and I had this accordion little file thing. I don't know if you guys remember that far back, but it was like rainbow colored, and I was just stuffing money into savings challenges and into different categories. And I remember seeing a old single wide in a mobile home park for sale for $8,000. And I said, that's it. That's the ticket. I'm going to see how much money I have in the little accordion thing and whatever Jordan, my husband, had, collected over the 6 months, year that we had been working at the pizza place. And we're going to see if we have enough. Well, we didn't quite have $8,000, but I made an offer. There was a lot of ups and downs with the person selling the mobile home. She was having arguments with the management there. I had talked to management, and she was like, listen, if you want to pay $8,000 for that old mobile home, go for it. but she's been kind of playing the game. I don't want to move. I want to move, all the different things. So I came home with a final answer, which was no. And a lot of you guys were like, Amanda, we're really sorry you didn't get the mobile home. And I was torn to pieces because I was like, my rent's going to go up again. In December, it was going up 10%. And I do live in a very sought out area of Oregon, and it's very expensive. And so 10% meant another $100 and something onto my rent. And my husband and I were like, things are going to be harder now, and we're going to have to cut back on our savings, and we may never leave here. And then in October of that year, I called the landlady and I said, did she end up officially selling the house? She said, yeah, I think she officially sold it. And I was like, okay, no worries. I'm just curious. And I was like, do you know of anybody else who is selling mobile homes in the park? And she's like, well, I'm selling mine. And I said, well, for how much? And she was like, I don't know, like $5,000. I've been working on it and all the different things. I know some of you guys are going to look at me sideways over there. We'll get to that in a second. But she was like, $5,000, move in, deposit, all the different things. She's like, do you want it or not? Because I want cash. And I was like, well, let me see. And over 3 days' time, I counted my money like 15 times. Jordan was counting all the money 15 times. He says, if you don't pull this money for the house, I'm going to lose my mind. And I said, okay. So I got off work. He wasn't working that day. He counted the money again. And we drove to the bank, got this stack of money that we had been saving into $100 bills. And we don't know how it happened, but we had literally almost exactly $5,000. Actually, a little over $5,000 cash. And we were just saving. And he was like, I don't care really, like, as long as it's livable, we could buy it and all the things. So that's how we ended up with the mobile home. We bought it for $5,000 cash, move in and everything. The lot rent at the time was $550, water, sewage, garbage included. Okay, so $550 for literally only the house and electricity. If you didn't have any other expenses, that'd be really cheap. You could live for less than $1,000, easy. So that was our biggest reason for buying the home. And even now we are very thankful for it. Because there would be no way I could pay the rent that we would be paying now, which would be $1,710 in our low income apartment. No washer, no dryer, no yard, nothing. Can't even put Christmas lights up. Okay. How much did we purchase the home for in total? So the total to move in and everything was the $5,000 cash. I did get a receipt for a bill of sale. We went down to the county assessor's office, got it put in our name pretty much instantaneously, changed the locks on the doors, all the different things. And then we lived in it for 2 years like that. And we struggled over the last couple of years. There's been a big economy shift as you guys are living right now in it with us, right? We're all dealing with an economy shift, and we've had some things that we've needed to repair on the home. We currently technically have been putting a little bit of money here and there into it. Not a whole lot, but some. And we've gone to a lot of different places to get used stuff. There's a place called Restore that we go to quite often to get supplies to fix the house for a very small amount compared to places like Home Depot and Lowe's. So as of around, I want to say end of summer, so August, we knew that the mobile home park owners were going to sell. And so the mobile home was purchased by an outside entity. Someone in Las Vegas came and purchased this property. They knew that the area was very sought out, not necessarily the town we live in, but the area in general. And so they swooped it up, purchased it. It took a lot of time for them to get, things going. We were in limbo for about a month. And then, as the new owners came in, we were fearing, no new leases, what would happen to the mobile home park, what would happen to us. We were told all sorts of things by residents who were hearing things from the landlady that we purchased the home from. They're going to buy us out. We're not going to have homes to live in. They're only going to give us $4,000 a piece, all the different things. Rumor, right? And so that started to get everybody riled up and anxious. And some of these folks in this mobile home park can't afford to move. They're on disability or they're on a low income. We can't even afford to move at this point. If we were to go back to an apartment, which I've been told many a times, just go live in a cheap apartment. There is no cheap apartments here. You're talking $2,000 for a basic bare bones 2-bedroom apartment. So, and you'd also have to make 3 times the rent to live there per person. I know it's crazy. It's just, that's what they do here in Oregon, especially in this area of Oregon. And a lot of times they ask you to have a specific credit score. If you had all those things, you're making 3 times the rent. Why wouldn't you go buy something? Makes no sense. Okay. So the new owners came in. We didn't really have a lease over the last couple of months, and they started working on a new lease. As of not last week, the week before, we officially signed our new lease. And the new lease has tons of different things in it that make sense and some that don't. We don't live in apartments. We own the homes. And some of the rules make sense if it was an apartment. And some of the rules don't make sense because it's a lot to ask. So the biggest thing that is kind of the deal breaker is that they want us to do a list of things. Every single house in this mobile home park needs a roof. They need a roof. And part of the weatherization program that we're waiting on, hopefully, fingers crossed, in July, that they will have the funding to remodel our bathroom and then do the roof, windows, doors, and the insulating and fixing of the underbelly of our home. Now, this program is subject to, if you are in the program, you have to live in there for so long before you can sell it. Otherwise, they take a percentage or you pay them back for the, items that they did for you at cost. Okay. So it's nowhere near as if I was to pay a contractor or something like that. However, they know things happen. And they're like, we're not going to hold everything against you. It's not like, hey, we're dangling this over your head and you got to do this or else. She was like, to be honest with you, as the director of this program for X amount of years, I've seen it all. And she's like, it's hard because you don't get to choose. If you had to move, you had to move, But the biggest part of this is that it's on a time thing. We're on a time thing right now. So everybody in the park needs a new roof. Every single house is 1960s, 70s. They're old. I think the newest one is like a 1980. Okay. But most of them are from the 60s. My neighbor across the street has a 1967. Mine's a 66. The neighbor aside me is a 1967 as well. And the neighbor next to us down the way a little bit, the second or third house in, his is a 1970. So, what does that mean for us? What is changing in this lease? So the one thing that seems unreasonable is that they've had us sign these new leases. They will start as of next month. And they're starting to add new things to the leases. Like now you have to have blinds, and they have to be certain kind of blinds, and you have to get them to fit your window, and that costs money. Have you ever called 1-800-BLINDS? I had a friend that worked for them, and man, they were expensive. They were expensive. And these are mobile home park windows, so they're not going to be a standard window. And a lot of the mobile homes in our park aren't like ours, where we have some standard looking windows. Some of them are like those long rectangular ones. Okay, so there's that. One thing that we don't have to worry about is that every mobile home park that someone has worked on, they've made an illegal addition to. So a lot of folks have to remove that to standard home. The other thing that they're making people do is take down their fences, which I feel is fair. I feel like that can be fair. But the one thing that's freaky is all get out. They're saying we can't sell our home unless it's up to their standard, which I'm like, that doesn't make sense, because what if you don't have the money to fix up your home? What if you can't afford that new roof? What if you're a single mom or an elderly person living in this park? You can't tell people that something that they own that's legally theirs to the fullest, that they can't sell it. It doesn't make sense. And I've called a lot of lawyers, housing lawyers. I called the housing authority. I left a message with the housing authority. However, a few lawyers were like, ma'am, what? And I'm like, yeah, they're telling us that, you know, it has to be up to their park standards to sell it. And they're like, but doesn't that mean that it has to be up to the park standards for you to stay there too? Like, what if you can't afford it? One guy laughed. He was like, you know how much a new roof is? You know how much a new roof is? He's like, these people are crazy. He's like, it doesn't make any sense. You're getting out of something that you can't fix so you can sell it to somebody else who's going to likely fix it. He's like, make that part of the deal. He's like, but to tell you can't just sell your home at any time is a load of it. It's a load of poop. It is a load of bull poop, okay? Doesn't make any sense, okay? But I'm like, I don't want to live here forever. And what if I don't want to put a bunch of money into this and I want to sell it to somebody? What if an emergency happened and I had to leave? What if I was in a situation where I was like, my hands are tied, I'm not finding any viable work? What if a recession hits? I mean, we have to think of all these different things with selling a house, right? What are they asking us to do to stay? It's on my list. My list was flying away, so I have to put it here. They're asking us to do a specific list of things in order to stay in the park. Obviously, everybody who is in the park is on a low income for the most part. They tried to tell me that they're not. Yeah, you talk to 2 families. The rest of them are afraid to talk to you because they're on a low income. They don't want you to tell them something that they can't do. We'll be real, okay? So they're asking us all to do a specific list. Some homes have a way longer list than mine. I really only have 3 things that I have to do. 2 of which I need to ask a little bit more about because I don't want to say it out loud, but, you know, and then get it all wrong. But one thing for sure is the roof. And most people are not staying. Most people are not staying. They're getting upset. The other thing that they want to do is charge everyone for their pets. A lot of folks have people that are living in their mobile home that shouldn't be. I agree with that one. I can agree with that one because I want to know who my kids are hanging out with, right? I want to know, you know, whose kids are playing with whose kids, who's my neighbor, who lives next door, did they go through a background check, all the different things. But ultimately, I think that it's just the standard things that they're asking us to do to stay. Now, the blind thing, I'm not sure if that's going to be a for sure thing. However, I'm not gonna lie, I just can't afford it. If I could have blinds like that, I would. I can put up curtains. I don't mind putting up curtains. Curtains are way cheaper. I can find them anywhere. I can make them fit. I can make them myself, whatever. And the other question is that, are we planning on moving? If I cannot get someone to come and help us officially get this new roof, not just the temporary roof, if I cannot do the list of things within the park's requests, I will have to leave. I will have to leave. Do I want to do these things to stay? I don't know. I don't know. I was at the breaking point a couple days ago where I was having an interview with McDonald's, and I was like, if I can't get a job here, and if my husband's still stuck not getting a job here, then we have to leave. And it has to be a done deal, okay? So ultimately, this is not meant to be a forever home. This is a stepping stone house for us to be able to not struggle to pay every single bill we have, to not struggle with, you know, having a very high apartment rent, in order to be able to save the little money that we do save, okay? Ways we are upping our income, increasing our income, and trying to save more money. So ultimately this summer, we are going to be likely working opposite of each other. Jordan wants to make sure that I know what my schedule is before he goes out and tries to get either a similar job to mine, maybe even at McDonald's, or something else. He does have a lot of different little side hustles he does. He does resell a lot of gaming stuff throughout the summer, so he'll go to the yard sales and thrift stores and all the different things, estate sales, and he will gather all the electronic stuff and he will sell them either to used game shops, or he potentially sells them online, whether that be Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, or other entities. We have sold on eBay in the past. The other thing that he does is he picks up old furniture, usually like real wood furniture, and redoes the furniture and sells it. A couple of years ago, he got a very long, modern style, but vintage dresser where he sanded down and glazed the front, and it was all just real wood. And then he did the actual body of the dresser in kind of a turquoisey blue color, and it was beautiful. And he sold it for a couple $100, and I think he got it for like $15. So he has a lot of things that he does do. He's also kind of waiting on another side hustle. He was like, please don't tell them about it until I'm actually going to do it. So I will request his, you know, wanting of the privacy of that one. It's nothing crazy. It's just more of up in the air because it's involving some family, friends, and people that we know. I do know that he is looking into continuing on to try to maybe find something, an easier trade, maybe construction, framing, what have you, maybe concrete, I don't know. He's going to call around in the next week and see what he can find. And what he would need to do to get a job like that, because a lot of it is not what you know, but who you know. And unfortunately, everybody we know is leaving. They're done. They're leaving. They're like, bye, we're going to this state. We're like, oh, okay, bye, I guess. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make two videos a day. I also I don't make a lot on YouTube, but it is still a side hustle of mine. It's more of a hobby than anything, but I want to see if the 2 videos a day really helps. So I could use a lot of good positive vibes in that, especially if you enjoy my channel. I am also going to be continuing gig working. Currently Jordan's car is down, but he did talk about going back to doing Spark a lot more in the summertime, especially around the holidays where he's shopping for people more. And you know, 4th of July is going to come up. People are going to be traveling. So he was like, maybe that's my best bet to do Spark again. We currently have to share this car. So we're doing a lot of pickup, drop off, going to work. So doing Spark in this for him is kind of, he's more like the taxi right now. He's driving Miss Daisy and her kids. But, you know, honestly, picking up more on DoorDash, maybe doing more evenings, doing more Uber Eats in the evenings, doing Spark and Instacart during the holidays, and during the big tourist times will help out a lot. I am also going to resell on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. I love reselling. I've actually done it for a living before, so I know what I'm kind of looking for and what my market wants. And I go for things that are needs. Vacuum cleaners, shampooers, Pyrex, cooking stuff in general, pots and pans that are in very good, almost new condition, tire chains, tires, sets of tires specifically, winter tires specifically. I like to pick up small appliances. I have sold so many little fridges, and I have even sold little freezers, stuff like that, stuff that people need. You know, if you're going to get into something like that, pick something that people need. We're also going through our shed currently. We're going to sell almost everything in the shed. And our mobile home park did have a huge park cleanup, you guys. We were very successful in that. So we got rid of our couch that was, you know, seeing better days because it was used already. We got rid of a lot of our particle board, crappy furniture. We also got rid of a ton of just odds and ends that nobody was using, broken toys, books that were torn, ripped, couldn't be used. We got rid of tons of like old blankets. We got tons of things that just weren't seen in 2 years that we lived there. So if you haven't seen it in a year, get rid of it. Post it online if it's good. Get rid of it. Go to the dump. All the different things. The less you have during a time of crisis, the better. Because if you have to move, like we may have to move, because obviously nothing is set in stone with this mobile home park, I want to have as little as possible. But I hope that that is the best update that I could give you. I do want to know, what is your opinion? Do you really think that they're trying to scare people and feeling like they're stuck in this situation? I don't know if they can legally tell us that we just can't sell our homes. I think that's kind of crazy. The blind thing seems kind of crazy. So as always, you can only do what you can with what you got, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I am going to attach an audiobook to my ears as I drive back down the road to my home. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys. I'm excited. I'm excited about my hearing aids. Ah, it's so crazy. They're so little. Ah, see? That's all it is. And the other one, you can't even tell. All right. Bye guys.